Hello, welcome to Escrow Escapes. This is the real estate stories, market trends, and true tales from the front lines of closings. I am Matthew Halliday, Navy veteran and father of three girls, also a full time real estate agent. Let's get into it.
The inspector's voice cut in. There's a room off the back, framed perfectly, but there's no permit in the file. I remember staring at that photo and thinking, okay, we have 3 days to closing. Welcome to Escrow Escapes. I'm Matthew Halliday, and today we're living that moment when an inspector finds a sizable unpermitted addition right before everyone signs. This episode walks you through the panic, the practical moves that actually work, and the scripts you can use the minute something like this shows up. Whoa. The buyer called, the listing agent went quiet, the lender put conditions on the loan, and escrow started sending questions. That instant, when you realize a material fact was missing, sets the tone for everything that follows. Here's what you'll walk away with. 3 concrete lessons you can act on, a prioritized checklist to use immediately, and a sample amendment you can drop into escrow to buy time without giving away protection. No jargon, real, usable moves. Let's rewind and give you the scene. The inspector takes a photo, newer siding where it meets the old house, a fresh roofline splice, and inside, new drywall, a door, ductwork tied into the system. The disclosure form, silent. The listing agent, surprised. The buyer, terrified. Escrow, frozen. I remember thinking, you can either let this derail everything or you can turn process into the rescue plan. Lesson 1 is detection and documentation. The faster you collect evidence, the better your options. Ask your inspector to shoot junction photos where new meets old, measure the addition, note HVAC runs, and highlight any obvious code shortcuts. Those are not just notes, they're leverage. Do 3 quick things immediately. 1, run a permit search with the local building department. Many will give a same-day status with an address. 2, pull assessor and tax records to see if the square footage changed. 3, check historical street view or satellite images to time when that structure appeared. Those steps give you context in hours, not weeks. Now the negotiation layer. 4 paths you should know. An escrow holdback, a seller performed permit cure, a seller credit, or walking away. Each has trade-offs. Let me walk you through them cleanly. Escrow holdback. Funds are reserved at closing until permits are final. It keeps the transaction moving, but it must be narrowly scoped. Exact amount, release conditions, and a hard deadline. If you leave it vague, money sits and disputes start. Permit cure by the seller. Great when the work is likely to be legalized without major demolition. Remember, bringing old work up to code can expose other hidden problems and cost more than expected. Seller credit. Faster, cleaner for closing, but it shifts the permitting risk to the buyer post-close. And sometimes walking away is the sensible, calm decision, especially if the numbers or safety concerns are unknown. You asked for actual language. Use this as a template. Here's a concrete sample with an example figure you can adapt. Buyer and seller agree to close as scheduled with an escrow holdback in the amount of $12,000. Example based on a modest bedroom addition. To secure completion of required permits and corrections as outlined in Exhibit A. Funds to be released upon receipt of final permit and certificate of occupancy or by written agreement of the parties. Escrow to hold funds for no more than 180 days unless extended by written agreement. Tip: pick the dollar figure from a contractor's estimate plus a contingency, commonly 10 to 25% depending on unknowns. For small additions, you might see $8 to $20K. Larger structural issues push that higher. Use Exhibit A to attach the estimate and scope. Now, the stakeholders, lenders, appraisers, insurers. Lenders can be strict. Many underwriters will exclude unpermitted space from loan collateral, and FHA or VA loans often require permits for added livable space. Appraisers might exclude the room from comparables, which can reduce valuation commonly by 5 to 10%, depending on market and the proportion of the home the addition represents. Insurers may refuse coverage on the unpermitted portion until it's legalized, or may add exclusions. So the practical move is paperwork. Get a contractor estimate and scope. Present that to the lender and insurer, and request conditional acceptance, something in writing that lists the holdback, the expected cost, and deadlines. That conditional note is what keeps money moving. I also want to give you the realistic friction. Sometimes the seller snaps. We never pulled a permit. So what, you want me to tear it down? Calm response. We want to preserve the sale while we resolve permitting. Provide any documentation you have and let us secure a contractor estimate. Then we agree on a narrowly scoped holdback or credit based on the estimate. That diffuses blame and focuses the conversation on solutions. A prioritized checklist you can use right now. 1. Instruct the inspector to document everything with photos and measurements. 2. Run a permit search. 3. Get a contractor estimate and attach it to Exhibit A. 4. Notify lender and escrow and request conditional guidance. 5. Propose a narrow escrow holdback or seller credit with deadlines. 6. Evaluate walkaway if cost or structural risk is unacceptable. Keep every step documented in writing. Agents. 2 one-liners that actually work. For the seller, please provide any permit records and invoices for the addition, and allow a contractor access this week to assess the work. For the lender or escrow officer, given an unpermitted addition identified by inspection, we request conditional acknowledgement of an escrow holdback or underwriting requirements pending permit resolution. That first script, use it word for word. That second, send it to your escrow contact and follow up. Trust me, neutral. Procedural language moves conversations faster than accusation. A few real-world cautions. Sellers who refuse to cooperate can create leverage for buyers. Non-disclosure is a legal exposure. Timelines matter. Some jurisdictions book inspections or permits weeks out. And finally, hidden issues behind walls can balloon costs. Always add a contingency to estimates and consider a conservative holdback. If you're the buyer, set your tolerance now. Decide whether a $5,000 holdback is acceptable or whether you need the seller to cure. A clear decision framework prevents emotional, expensive choices at the last minute. If you're the seller, preempt this by sharing permit history up front and getting a contractor estimate if something looks off. Cooperation usually preserves the sale. Obstruction risks cancellation or downstream legal trouble. One straightforward tip to use today: pull permit history as soon as your offer is accepted. In many counties, it's a quick query. Doing this early catches surprises before inspection time turns them into crises. That habit alone saves stress and money. Let's break it down. 3 takeaways. Detect and document fast. Use narrow negotiated tools like escrow holdbacks or permit cures, and involve lenders and insurers early with the contractor's scope. Keep communication clear, paperwork tight, and expectations realistic. That's a wrap on this episode of Escrow Escapes. Thanks for listening. And remember, every deal has its bumps. It's how you navigate them that counts. Catch you next time. If this helped, subscribe so you don't miss the next practical episode, and send your closing horror or rescue stories our way. We might feature them. Until then, keep your paperwork close and your contractor's number on speed dial.
Thanks for listening to Escrow Escapes. For more real estate tips, market updates, and behind the scenes stories, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I am Matthew Halliday. We'll see you on the next closing. Thanks. Have a great day.